Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 28th episode of the Daily Attorney Podcast, where we talk to women attorneys all over the U.S. who are simply amazing at what they do inside and outside of the legal profession. So, as many of you know, we took a little bit of a break in the month of June to catch up and restructure the show. So, moving forward, we will air episodes once a month, and we promise to continue our quest in bringing you quality content that highlights attorneys who are trailblazers in the legal community and even in their own communities. Speaking of which, please join me in welcoming another great attorney, Ms. Snehal Massey, owner of SPM Law. In the world of family law, your choice of lawyers makes all the difference in the outcome of your family law case. And Snehal's firm exists because she wanted a different experience for her client, and she definitely needed a different experience for herself. She realized that the practice of law does not need to be all-consuming of scarce resources like time, energy, and finances. She extends her time and efforts to her community and serves as a leader with several professional organizations. In fact, her and I both serve as chairs for committees with the Baltimore County Bar Association, with Snehal serving as the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. She most recently served on the executive board and chaired the Racial Justice Committee of the South Asian Bar Association of Washington, D.C. She was recently appointed to the Baltimore County Bar Association Judicial Selection Committee, which is actually pretty big in our county. She serves on the board of Christalis, Inc., a nonprofit organization that develops and maintains programs to help underserved children and families in various parts of the world. She is someone that I have worked alongside in family law cases, and I can truly attest to her kindness and her professionalism. Snehal, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, Yves, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on here with you.
Same here. I know you were talking about how you were a little nervous, and it's okay. I get nervous too. Don't worry. This is a podcast where we definitely get to simply talk about you, who you are, what you do, and why you do it, right? So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is I know that recently you are now owner of your own law firm. So congratulations. I know when we had our case together in 2020.
Yes,
yeah,
it was the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, it was that long ago. We had our case together in 2020. You were with another law firm. So how are you handling that transition?
So I opened up my law firm about 6 months ago. I left my practice, my old law firm, last October, and I took a few months off, and then I launched my practice officially in January. So it's been going for about, 7 months now, and it's been an interesting experience. Definitely a lot of learning curves, but I've been so lucky to have people that I can call on, like yourself, people that I admire that have law firms that have practice in a way that I admire, that I can call on. And it's been really great to have people open up and share their experiences, so I don't have to start from the beginning, which is really rare. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that in our community.
Yeah. And I remember when you and I had talked, you sent me an email. I was like, hell yes, I'll talk to you.
I'm definitely a fan of yours. So.
Oh, thank you. And it's so funny. Being an attorney, we are adversarial, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm not that person. I'm like, let's all hold hands and work this out. And you're like that too, which I think made our case a lot easier, because we had a pretty, in my opinion, straightforward case. It didn't need to be more than, what it was. So, I tell people about you. I send referrals your way all the time.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure knowing you, and I am excited to see both of us and our growth and, where we go from here. And we're both serving as chairs this year, which is pretty cool. So we'll see just a little bit more of each other for this coming bar year. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned is that you took, a few months off. How did you handle, because the firm that you were with, you had a huge caseload, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you go from, working as an attorney, doing all the stuff that you do, to kind of just stopping and just being a mom and being a human, for for a really long time, that's a huge
Well, that
transition.
was a learning curve too, I will say. I think as attorneys, we're so accustomed to go, 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 and we don't know how to stop.
Yes.
And I will say, even though I took off 2 months, I did have a lighter caseload. There were some cases that came with me, but they were kind of in a lull period. There wasn't a lot going on. And I notified my clients ahead of time, and I said, look, I'm taking a break. And they were really understanding for the most part. I mean, family law it can go in waves, right? So, but it
Yes.
was really nice to have clients that understood and respected that I needed to take that time, and I was able to do that. But I will say it was really tough the first few weeks because I just didn't know what to do with myself because I
Yeah.
had all this time.
Yeah.
But once I did that, I think it really helped me recalibrate myself and understand what was important to me. And it really helped develop what I want my firm to be.
I love that. I think, the pandemic, we've seen a wave of, myself included. You just see a wave of individuals that are like, wait a minute, I don't have to work myself to death. I don't have to, and if I do work myself to death, it's going to be for something that might spark that joy in me, that light in me. Um, so I think we've seen a huge shift in the way people are now thinking about that,
Mhm.
quote unquote 9 to 5. So I think that, your hiatus was kind of on par with all this because it was in the middle of the pandemic too.
It
Um,
was.
yeah, yeah. So as far as, I want to know what your biggest eye-opening moment was in opening your firm, besides not having a paralegal to hold your hand.
Well, I do have a paralegal, a great one right now, which is amazing. But I think the biggest eye-opening experience is there's just so many little things. And I knew about them prior to, but and it's how much the little things take up your
Yes,
time. And I
yes,
feel like most of my day, I didn't accomplish anything, but I know I did stuff all day long. And I think it's, I always heard it, but I think when you're actually in it, it really, really hits home a lot more definitely.
yeah. Um, we have many days, I think, as attorneys, we have many days where we're just like, man, I'm tired. This was a busy day. And you still have the same 30 emails in your inbox you had when you got in. You're like, well, what did I do?
Yep.
But you did a lot. It's the little things that can sometimes make or break a case, right? Or
Mhm.
um, go between a happy client and an upset client. So it's just one of those things. I think the little things are huge. What was your biggest eye-opening moment as far as being a business owner? Because being an attorney and a business owner are two different things. They didn't tell us
It,
that in law school, did they?
no, I think I had a little bit of a clue because prior to my law school experience, I was in the business world, so I had a little bit of an understanding. I was never a business owner, but I just got I knew the dynamics of being in a business world. But as a business owner, and now that I have staff, I think adding that layer is just being a manager, right? And I don't
Yeah.
like I've been an employee my whole life until now, and I want to
Mhm.
make sure my staff's experience is different and it's something that they enjoy. Just like what you said with the pandemic, I think we all shifted our perspective and our what's important to us, and I want to make sure that people enjoy what they do. And so I think for me, the biggest eye opening is how to be a good manager or just a good
Yes.
person to work with. So learning those skills. I mean, I think it's different when you're friends with someone, but versus someone that's working for you. So that's something I'm definitely working on right now.
Yeah. I think hiring your friends, I don't know. I think that's a big mistake,
I've
because
learned that the hard way.
yeah, it blurs because that person feels like, oh, they're a little comfortable. It's okay. I think as a full-time person, it can be a bit disastrous. And for me, I'd rather save the friendship, right, than the working
Agreed.
relationship, because at some point you'll retire and the business won't be there, but at least you'll have your friends. Speaking of friends, hey Tanae. She's always there. It's my friend Tanae. She's an attorney also,
Nay.
by the way. As far as being a manager, do you find it a little difficult to delegate the work? Because I know for me, I held on to everything for years. I was like, I can do this, I can do that. No, I can't.
I thought it would be harder than it was. I think I'm at this point where I just have too much, where I think my go-to slogan right now is, I don't have the bandwidth for this.
Yes.
And I've learned, this is one of the styles, I am not a micromanager. So I'm good to get things off my plate. I am very difficult in terms of like the legal work. I am very particular about it. So I want to make sure I review everything. So even though I'm not a micromanager, it makes me feel like I am, but I feel like until I get to the point where I can just hand things off and not have any questions about it, I will have to do that. But I just want to give things away. I want to there's things, and you taught me this when I talked to you. You said, make a list of all the things that you like to do and the things you don't like to do. And I did that. And there's a lot of things I don't like to do. And I want to just get rid of them.
Yes, they're really.
So I don't want to hold on to them at all.
Yeah, there really, really is. And I had to learn that the hard way. And like I told you when we talked, just learn from my mistakes. I actually have another attorney who's made the decision to leave her firm. And she's like, hey, Marie, can I talk to you? And I said, well, this is what I'm going to tell you. Here's the 14,000 mistakes I made. Just don't do any of them and you will be fine. Just do not do any of them. I really feel like it's easier to learn from what not to do and also what you want, right? And if you know what you want, you set the course and you're good. But a lot of us, we don't, it's a trial and error. We don't learn it until like 5, 6, 7 years down the line. And by then, you have more grays than you have regular hair. So it's just one of those, definitely one of those pain in the butt things. So how do you, in doing all this, because I feel like going from working as as part of a firm, you have a specific structure, right? You know that you have, let's say, a 9 to 6, 9 to whatever. And Saturdays and Sundays, at least you're free. But now you don't have that. So how do you essentially take care of yourself and spend time with your family and have time for the community organizations that you're a part of? Like, how do you balance all that?
Not well. I will be honest with you. That is the one thing I still struggle with. And that was the impetus of my firm, right? I wanted to be able to have a better work-life balance. And I don't think I've achieved that yet. And I know it's because I'm in the early stages of my firm, and I'm the only one working until I just hired some staff recently. But I do spend a lot of time working. But one thing I've been able to do that I've never been able to do it with my other jobs, I can leave at 3:00 and go spend time with my daughter or pick her up or, take her somewhere if I need to. Whereas before I couldn't do that. I can always log in after she goes to bed and work. So I think having that has been helpful. So I'm still working on that balance part of it. I feel like I will hopefully get better at it as this year goes. But just having that autonomy and freedom of my schedule, I think makes a big difference in terms of how I manage my time.
I think the freedom of our schedules is probably the biggest perk. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. I think that's a friend of mine too.
That is the biggest perk, in my opinion, of having a flexible schedule, right? Is being able to spend time with your family. My son is not as young as your daughter. He's 14, going to be 15. And as much as his video gaming drives me nuts, it's nice to be able to sit in the dining room and work and hear him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll walk by. He's like, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I was fine 5 minutes ago when you asked me," right? But at first it was like, go, 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 gotta work, gotta provide for this kid, gotta take care of this, gotta take care of that. He needs college education money. He needs,
Mm-hmm.
dental bill money and ortho money and all that stuff. But when you're at the office until 7 p.m. and your kid is calling you to see when you're coming home, I just as a human, I think that doesn't really make you feel real good, right?
Yeah.
So now instead of me before, what I used to do is I used to work in the basement and, he's playing his game. But I felt, Jennifer says she's happy to hear us talk about flexible schedules and time management. They're always on my mind. And I talked about it just last week in the LinkedIn video. Jennifer, if you can post that LinkedIn video in the comments, I'd be very, very happy to review it and post it on our page. So that way some of the attorneys and other people who, watch the show can actually, take a look at it. Okay. But yeah, so I used to work in the basement, but one of the things I realized is I started feeling a little alone and I felt like I was in my little cocoon. And so that's why now I move into the dining room. And when I have a meeting, I'm like, "Bud, I'm on the phone." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." So he'll close his door and you'll hear him whispering, "My mom is working." So I think it's different. As you said, he's at home right now, and I'm actually leaving after this broadcast. I have trial tomorrow. So I'm going to go home and prepare for trial. And, so I think that is the biggest part. It's spending time with their kids. They grow up so quick. How old is your daughter now?
Oh my gosh, she's 6, almost 6.5. She just finished kindergarten. She acts like a teenager, but yeah, I was telling my husband, I was like, I can't believe she's going to go into first grade. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does go by. You blink and they're going
It
into a
does.
different grade.
It does. And from time to time, I'll send him pictures. He's like, "Why are you sending me this?" I'm like, "Because I miss this little kid. Can you bring him back?" Thank you, Jennifer, for posting the link. It will be here. So anyone who views the video, you can go ahead and go into the comments and click Jennifer's video and you can view it. Thank you so, so much. Clifford, thank you. Hello. I'm glad that we can get some information on here. That's always a bonus. So Jennifer, thank you for that. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is, keeping our education sharp, right? Because we never have to stop reading and learning, which I'm fine with. That's kind of what we signed up for. How do you balance, well, you're about to definitely balance that now because, part of our duties as chairs of a committee is putting on educational programs for our legal community, right? So with that said, how do you balance, essentially education, refining your skills, and, being the attorney and the business owner while also managing clients?
Yeah. So that's something
Oh, Snehal, I lost your sound. I lost your sound. Let me unmute. Okay, there you are.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
No, it's fine. It just said your mic wasn't connected, but it's fine. Things happen. That's the beauty of going live, guys.
Marie Eves, for some reason I can't hear you.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. Do you have headphones on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there you are. I don't know what happened.
Okay. No, it's okay. The beauty of going live. So yeah, you were saying, how do you balance everything pertaining to education and maintaining, your business and managing clients and all that?
Yeah, so I actually just did a training, 2.5 day training a few weeks ago. And initially when I planned the training, I blocked it off, made sure I had nothing on my calendar for that week. other than the training, just because I knew I would not be able to do anything those 2 days. But then a trial popped up right before the training. So I was pretty much gone the entire week. So I think for me going forward, I need to be able to be more mindful about my schedule and protect my schedule a little bit more, because it was really tough to be in trial and then the training, and then you don't get to talk to your clients that whole week. And that's not acceptable in family law, especially. So that was definitely a learning lesson for me. And I want to make sure to literally block off time and say, before trial or before training, no, do not schedule anything, so that I can make sure to be able to give my attention to everything that's necessary.
Yeah, one of the ways that I've accomplished that is, and we're still revamping it, so don't think that I've mastered it, is Jika and we always look at my schedule at least once a month. And if I start seeing a huge amount of meeting buildup, I block off the entire month and no one is able to get on. Yeah. Right now, my August is blocked off. I had to, because the pattern that I saw is you have too many meetings, therefore you're working too late or not at all because you're exhausted, and then you get backed up.
Yep.
And then that's when the court is stepping on your neck, and saying, hey, where's what I asked you? I don't think that that's a good way to practice. I'm sure all attorneys would agree with me on that. So what I started doing was looking at the schedule every single month. If there's too many meetings, meaning if there's more than 3 to 4 meetings, for 1 week, 2 to 3 days in a row, that's too much. So I go ahead and, hey, Tatasha, how you doing? I go ahead and I switch it and I say, no, we've got to take care of this. So one of the ways that we do that is blocking off the calendar and blocking it off well in advance. So in the month of May, I blocked off the rest of June and all of July. So you might want to think about that, because it doesn't stop the court from getting on the calendar, but at least if the court gets on the calendar, then I know that my client will have all of my attention at least the 72 hours before any hearings that we have, coming up, and I can get some stuff off my desk. So that's, thank you, Corrine. She said that's a great idea. That's just one of the ways, that's something that has, worked for me. So I'm not sure if it works for you, given that you and I are kind of on a different path now. I have 10 family law cases left.
Wow. Because you're getting out of family law.
I am out. I'm calling myself a recovering family law attorney.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am out. There's just some people that can do it. It's been very clear that I'm not able to. I am way too compassionate, and I just get too involved, and I just don't think that makes sense. I haven't been able to maintain that impartiality that I think is required for what we do. So speaking of which, how do you maintain that? How do you keep yourself from, going off into the deep end, like, you married the other spouse or those are your children? How do you do that?
Yeah, so that I learned very early in my practice. Thankfully, one of the attorneys I work for, she told me early on, and she said, Snehal, this is not your family and this is not your kids. And I thought that was very harsh initially. I was like, well, it's not, but they're going through a really rough time, because I'm like you, I'm very compassionate, right? But once I started doing it and practicing, I realized I need to develop that. Otherwise, I was taking it home. Yeah. But I do have to check myself and remember, while it's not my family and my kids, it is their kids, and I do need to be empathetic. So it's a tough balance. So I do remind myself, like, okay, there's only so much I can do. I cannot change people.
No.
And I can only work within these confines that have been set for me. And I remind my clients that I'm like, unfortunately, this is all that the court can do.
Yeah.
No, even the court's not going to change your ex or, the father or the mother. And that's just something that they have to work through, which is really tough. I think that's the toughest part of my job, is to tell them there's nothing else I can do,
Yeah.
even when it's not a fair situation.
See, but that was the hardest part for me, though. That was the hardest part for me, is the fact that I can't change the other side, and that I can't really get the judge to see what I see. Like, because I mean, you know, by now, our facts win cases, right? And if we have a wonderful model client who just happened to do something super stupid, we're just pulling our hair out, right? Yeah. And the court is like, well, your client should have thought better. He or she should have done better. And I'm like, but they're a great person. Look at all the wonderful stuff they've done, you know? And depending on the judge, they may or may not weigh that a little heavier than some other factors. So for me, it was gut-wrenching to see all of the great stuff that clients have done and ways in which they've rehabilitated themselves and worked on things, and still get, you know, I don't want to say a short end of the stick, but you know, the outcome that they really was hoping that they did not get. So for me, that was one of the toughest parts. And we're human, like you said, you know, you have to check yourself from time to time and say, wait a minute, I'm getting too involved right now, right? But you know, some of us can do it, others cannot. All of the calls that I get, they're going to you, they're going to other attorneys.
Thank you. I appreciate the referrals.
Oh no. And I refer to a small network of attorneys, people that I'm familiar with, people like you, that I know that if I send this out, oh my goodness, this person is going to do what they need to do. And we do have some questions. So Jennifer wanted to know if I transitioned to a new practice area. Actually, I did not. It's not new. So I actually have extensive experience in the estates and trust area, and I have my LLM in taxation. I also have a certificate in estate planning. But unfortunately, as Snehal knows, you can't really do family law part-time. So what ended up happening was, when I started doing family law, it just took over. And it became about 85% of the law that I practice. And you know, I wanted it the other way around, but you can't have that. So it just, for me, I didn't want to half-ass it. So I had to make the decision. It's either family law or no family law. So estates and trusts, taxation, those are my areas. That's just what I love to do. And yeah. Now, Tatasha wanted to know, oh, well, I answered her question. She wanted to know what will I do now? So with that said, Snehal, I know it's 1:58. I can always talk to you. You are awesome. And I know we'll be spending plenty of time together this bar year. So it's really cool. I'm excited about all of the events that we have coming up. And there's plenty of them. So with that said, I just wanted to ask you one last question I ask all of my guests. If you were to leave some kind of impact on your community, on your clients, what would that be?
I think just being kind. That's one thing I've learned in my practice, and it's really important to me, because everyone is going through something, and oftentimes you don't see it. And I think just one of the things I want to make sure to do is be kind to my clients and be kind to everyone I come across, right? Because I think that goes a really long way, and it doesn't cost you anything. It really is a reflection of you and what you stand for. So I think if the world was a little bit more kind, it would be a lot better. So I hope that by being kind, that people will realize that there's more in common that we have than not.
Yes, that is true. And I can definitely attest to your kindness and your professionalism. It's unmatched. I've been very blessed and fortunate to just be in these practice areas, and just really meet individuals such as yourself who truly care about their clients, truly care about what they do, and just do it with their whole heart. So Thank you for all that you do. Keep doing it. The community work is amazing. You and I both do a lot of community work, so I'm sure at some point we'll cross paths in another organization.
I'm sure we'll be collaborating in the near future again.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you again for being on here. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, what is the best phone number to reach you?
You can call my office. It's 443-924-6116.
Thank you. And do you have an email address or website that anyone can use?
Yes. So you can reach me by email. It's smassey, Massey at spmlawoffice.com. And the website is the same, spmlawoffice.com. So
okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Usually we would have that stuff floating over here, but unfortunately, I'm without a producer for circumstances I shall not discuss. But with that said, hopefully I can have a new producer and we can have some floating information, but I will go ahead and link all of your information, Snehal, so people can actually reach out to you. Thank you again, and thank you so many attendees today. And it's been an honor and a privilege to return here and be able to talk to some awesome attorneys. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful and kind day. Take care.
Thank you, Marie.